You're listening to This Week in No Code plus AI, with weekly episodes sharing the latest advancements of AI, plus exclusive interviews with founders using these tools. So without any further ado, let's get started. Welcome to This Week in No Code plus AI. I'm JJ. We have a packed lineup of the latest tools, updates, and future-defining trends across this space. Plus, and another exciting guest and CEO, Justin from Cassidy AI, joins us this week to talk about how AI can help your business, even in the most boring areas, which often turn out to be the most valuable. More on that later. First, let's kick things off with what's been making waves this week with our news of the week. Lovable just dropped version 2.0, and it's a huge upgrade for anyone building AI assistant web apps. With a new sleek editor, real-time rendering, better developer UX, and instant visual edits, along with multiplayer within the canvas, allowing multiple devs to work together, it's a good update. Not the amazing update, but it's a good product getting better. Love to see it. Also, Bolt just made AI apps more beautiful. While most AI builders still struggle with design, Bolt just raised the bar. Their new agent is trained to create beautiful, functional apps from the start, no more cookie cutter layouts. It works seamlessly for both web and native mobile, and supports Superbase and Stripe right out of the gate. Whether you're building a landing page, a dashboard, or full application, you'll see a noticeable jump in design and code quality from your first prompt. I've seen some of its latest prompts and outputs, and it has actually taken a really good step forward. Love to see quality of AI increase like this. However, the creativity of AI still is leaving some things to be desired. OpenAI's viral image generation model is now available via API, and it's just 20 cents per high-quality image, which is affordable if you think about it. It's especially good at editing and combining images, which could be perfect for product visuals, creative content, or even building AI-first design tools. If you're thinking about launching something in this space, now's a great time, and this is a really great tool for you to spin up a lot of different products. Ever wish there was a plug-and-play backend for your agents? That's what ACI.dev is building. It's an open-source infrastructure that connects your AI agents to 500 tool integrations with support for multi-tenant auth, fine-grained permissions, and access via function calls or unified MCP servers. This could save you weeks of custom work, and just another way that agents are getting more access to tools around the internet, making agents even more valuable. Now, for some big picture moves. $125 billion in revenue is what OpenAI is predicting by 2029. This sounds big, and most of it is coming from new tools or products that they haven't even launched yet. But some are saying it's actually too modest, and their goal is to automate most of knowledge work, and that the potential could be even higher. Meanwhile, Anthropic is aiming to roll out virtual workers inside enterprise teams by 2026. The competition and ambition are heating up. These two companies are going head to head. And there's one thing for sure is that this enterprise work environment is going to be changing a lot in the next couple of years. The White House just announced plans to bring AI tools to K through 12 classrooms. Details are still emerging, but it's a clear signal that AI literacy will become a major part of early education. A new generation of builders might start younger than ever. To wrap things up, we're chatting with Justin, CEO and co-founder of Cassidy AI. We dig into how AI can help your business in the most unexpected way, those boring, behind-the-scenes workflows that quietly eat up your time and money. We'll explore how Cassidy helps automate these processes with AI and AI agents, and where Justin sees the future of the space heading. So without any further ado, let's welcome Justin onto the podcast.
JJ, I'm super excited to be here. How are things going?
Things are going great. It's a great time in the industry for automation, AI, agents, etc. So I'm sure you are loving it on your side.
We're loving it, and you must be loving it too. 65 episodes deep. Is this the 65th episode?
This is it. Yep.
Wow, that's a lucky number.
It is. It's been almost a year and a half of weekly updates of no code and AI, and things have moved quite quickly in the last year. I'll tell you that.
What was the, JJ, sorry I'm going off rails here, but I'm just curious, like what was the first no-code platform that you had on the podcast?
Oh man, that goes way back. We're longtime Bubble users,
Okay.
so we talking about them early on. We had the founder of Glide, the founder of Softer, the founder of BuildShip, all on in our first 10 episodes, I think. So started early with them and have been lucky to have many great CEOs like yourself on since then.
Awesome. That's really awesome to hear. You've built a great podcast.
Thank you. So I would love to learn more about you, how you got started in this industry, and then we'll work towards your company, talking about what it does and et cetera.
Yeah, for sure. So my background, I've always been interested in startups and building products. And I think specifically when you talk about what we're building now, what my kind of origin story, I would say, was when we got early access to GPT-3, my co-founder and I. And this was back in 2020 when they were starting to roll out that early access. And I just immediately been fascinated with this technology and knew I wanted to build something with it. And we were building, my co-founder and I, different products and trying out different things for a long time on the side. And funny you say Bubble was one of the first things. My co-founder was originally, he worked at Bubble before this. So
We know a couple other people on your team that used to work at Bubble too.
yeah, there are other Bubble people on the team as well. Olivia on our team was at Bubble. We love Bubble, and they're just an awesome company. And yeah, always been fascinated with no code. Obviously, my co-founder having worked at this sort of pioneer in no code, his interest in the space as well. And I guess like when you say no code, I think it's just really enabling people to be able to build anything without non-technical people. And what Bubble enables people to build web applications, really what there's so many different blends of no code. It's such a broad term when I think about no code. It's just, it feels like video editing tools are somewhat no code. And anyways, I'm going off on a tangent here, JJ. But anyways, the origin stories, I started doing a lot of kind of consulting with companies trying to help them figure out their AI strategy, how to build these different AI automations. And it was kind of, this is a couple of years ago. This is right when ChatGPT started to be released. So people had these ideas of what they wanted to do with LLMs, and it just really wasn't possible before. And my co-founder, I just saw an opportunity here, was like, hey, let's go and try to build something in this space that allows these non-technical people and individuals to build these internal workflows to make them do their work better. And we just set off on this journey to start building this product. And it's been a long journey since. I guess it's only been 2 years, but it's been a fun one.
And what is the product?
Yeah. So Cassidy is an AI automation platform that allows, I think, companies to build these, what we call contextual automation. And so when we say contextual automation, we're talking about things that really weren't possible 2 years ago. So we're all familiar with like integration automation, the Zapiers, the Workados, things like that. But this is more like, how do you take that deep, nuanced understanding of a company to automate these complex workflows that require nuanced human judgment in order to automate these processes? And so these are things that exist a lot in sales and support teams. So things like automating an RFP process, right? Where companies have filled out hundreds of RFPs or all these questions. They've answered it so many times before. You can't just use these previous automation platforms to connect different data pieces together. You actually need an LLM to deeply understand your business, what you do, all your offering, and being able to build an automation that will automate something like RFPs or responding to customer support emails, or even specific sales tasks like putting together a proposal automatically after a sales call. So these things that like go beyond just moving data from one place to another, but truly replicate the real workflows of human beings. And that's what we think of as contextual automation.
Yeah. When you started this company, there were players like Zapier and Make and et cetera. When you were thinking about the market, where was your opportunity? Where did you want to attack, knowing that these incumbents already existed and had a good market share?
We actually never, there's a lot of elements of Cassidy that might look similar from a UI perspective to Zapier or to Make, things like that. But the things that people were building on Cassidy aren't really possible on a Zapier or a Make. But if you're a proposal team and you want to automate hundreds of RFPs, you can't really build that in Zapier. Like Zapier is great. Hey, you want to connect your CRM to your Webflow? Great. Keep it in Zapier. Connect those two tools together. But if you're talking about a process that is extremely text heavy and requires deep context, that's where Cassidy will be a lot more useful for company generally. Even things like automating customer support. So internal customer support workflows, right? Where you're getting hundreds of emails on a daily basis. You want it to automatically respond to them. That goes beyond just a simple OpenAI API call. That won't work, right? In order for you to automate something that this means, how do you tap into your knowledge base that lives scattered across a lot of different tools, in unstructured data in the sense of like meeting recordings and all this weird data across the company. Yeah. How do you take all that information in order to make it so that you're basically building a replicate, a version of a customer support employee so that they actually adequately and accurately respond to customer emails that come in. So that's really where there's words like automation that draw a parallel between us and Zapier, but it's why we try to draw a line in the sand and we say this is a better option for contextual automation.
Yeah, what you're explaining to me seems more like agentic behavior where you're operating better in the fuzzy. Is that the way you're thinking about it, or are you thinking about it in a different way?
We do. I think the AI agent is a buzzword these days, and there's a lot of people who have different definitions of what it means to be an AI agent. The people that we're trying to onboard to our product and who we're most excited about are actually the people who don't even really know what an AI agent or what Anthropic Claude is. And so we're trying to tap into an audience that is different than a lot of the other players in the space, where I'm actually much more interested in the user who's not listening to this podcast. Let's pull that. And I think it's a different area, which is like, how do you get adoption from people who have no interest necessarily in figuring out what Claude is, but they want to be, but how can we communicate them in a way that gets them excited about the fact that you can now automate this process that you've been doing for the past 20 years? So it's a different audience set. And we try to be very specific about the terminology we use associated with our product and try to make it as easy and digestible for that profile of person to understand.
Yeah, I know that audience. We also look to build solutions for them with my company at Softer. And it's a tough audience to find because they don't really have, they're not like an operator. They don't go by labels in that sense. They're just operation professionals. They're just HR professionals, right? And so it's a huge market, but one, there's some education that comes with that because you got to give them the confidence of, hey, you can do this. And hey, it's easy enough for you to do it without needing your dev team. So how are you guys going about finding and attracting these customers? And what is your pitch to them? Because I do think that this is a huge ocean there, a
Yeah.
lot of untapped potential, but it is hard to find them and to educate, acquire, onboard, and help them find success because it's an entirely new
Yeah.
thing for them.
Totally. Look, I think the thing that we have going for us is in a lot of ways, this technology is just pure magic in ways that other technology has been, right? These are people who aren't necessarily reading tech magazines and are excited about that the next iPhone has a better camera, right? These are people that are not in that mix, but they just want to do their job. Exactly. And so what the thing about LLMs and what this technology has opened the door to is it is pure magic. Seeing ChatGPT write a poem out of nothing doesn't matter who you are, whether you're super into tech Twitter or you're an HR manager and who lives in Nebraska and likes to go hunting. There is a commonality there that everybody has this sort of holy shit moment with AI. And for us, I think the biggest limiting factor, the biggest difference between the two is that the sort of person who's on in the tech Twitter and who's in the community and who's playing and who's, if you will, a tinkerer of tools, they're able to have an easier job at figuring out what are the use cases. They're the ones who are exploring on their own and identifying the cool things that they can build with this technology. The difference here is that the people who are not as tapped in the no code world in the space of the endless possibilities of technology and what you can build, they really need that support of, well, hey, you can actually, you've seen her write a poem, but did you know that that competitive intelligence thing that you do every Monday for the whole company can actually be used with AI? And so it is an education thing. It's an education specifically around the use cases. So what we do as a company is we try to focus a lot more or less on here are the bells and whistles of our product and which attracts the tech Twitter tinkerer and indie hacker type. We're more like, forget about the product, forget about our features. You don't even know what Claude is. Here are the ways that you could be using our product to do the things that you tangibly do. So it's a difference of communication, rather more focused on use cases than the features of the product.
Yeah, it makes sense. Does that mean that you have to do more onboardings to get people up to speed in that way, or have you found other ways to onboard those customers successfully?
There is, but I honestly think there's a lot of onboarding needed across the board, whether you're an indie hacker, tinkerer, or you're someone who is totally not knowledgeable about the space. Right now, I think this is the biggest divide is that everybody sees how powerful the technology can be. People just have a hard time actually getting set up and using it in practice. I think a lot of the tools out there, these AI tools, that we hear about that have exploded in growth, they also have incredibly high churn. So people are trying tools and they're leaving tools. And it's an indication to me that people see the opportunity, but they have a really hard time converting the opportunity into like reality, actually building a real powerful agentic workflow.
Do you think that's like overhype of the tool itself or a lack of education or just a mix of the two?
I think it's a mix of the two. I think there's a lot of overhype. I think there's a lot of people who are totally selling things that are just not, frankly, totally possible today. And so you get bought into a flashy demo video, you try to build it and it just sucks, right? And you churn and you never use it. But then I think there's the other side of the coin, which are there are some use cases of AI today that are totally usable, like totally possible. It just does take this level of support and this level of how do you actually prompt it properly in a way that works. And so even when not even talking about complex agentic workflows, when we talk about even just using ChatGPT, there's so many people who try it and stop using it day one because they're like, it doesn't write like me, it doesn't sound good. But they gave a one word, a one sentence prompt, and if obviously it sounds horrible and it sounds overly professional, and they stop using AI. And so when you're getting, there is this like education curve that it's, yeah, of course it can write your emails for you and it can sound exactly like you and it can sound better than you, but it's going to take some prompting, some conversation, some back and forth. People don't know that at this point. And when you're taking it as far as, no, we're not even talking about prompting ChatGPT anymore. We're talking about automating your customer support end to end. Yeah, it's going to take some hand holding if people aren't even able to properly prompt ChatGPT at this point.
Yeah. You've been using the use case of customer support end to end. Where are you guys at with human in the loop opportunities and offering that balance of folks that do want to automate this, but they're not really ready to like go all hands off yet? Like, how does, your product position yourself in that way?
Yeah, for sure. We're very much oriented around human in the loop. We're not even necessarily a chatbot on your website. We want to remove all the risk. And I tell companies all the time, especially when you're dealing with Fortune 100 companies and these large companies, they just can't take the risk of full automation. But that doesn't mean that they shouldn't try to get 70, even 60%, 50%, you name it, productivity gains in their customer support, but 100% they should. And a lot of the way that customers use Cassidy is great. Let's have this workflow set up that looks at every Zendesk ticket, suggests a response, analyzes the sentiment to see how critical is it, and then maybe sends the manager on customer support a Slack message. Hey, here's a super critical Zendesk ticket. Here's a suggested response. Do you want me to send this? Versus just this automatic back and forth conversation. And I think that the way that we position Cassidy is we are much more trying to build the enterprise automation platform, an enterprise contextual automation platform than, being the, hey, we're going to just go try to promise you the world and you should push the limits. We want to actually be like, all right, no, we're going to tell you exactly what's possible today. We're not going to sell you on anything that doesn't actually work. We're going to advise you on to use the use cases that do work. We're going to advise you to do human in the loop. And that's just a different angle and goal than some companies, which also need to exist that are like, you should try just remove human in the loop, go for full automation. And those are great companies as well. They're just, I think, different approaches.
Yeah. Data and the security of that data remains very important to enterprises and all companies alike. What is your product doing that helps make your companies feel more comfortable about, hey, their data, it's protected in this way or et cetera?
Yeah, for sure. Look, I actually think it's funny. We've entered a world where people think there's something inherently different, but AI SaaS platforms and the SaaS platforms they use over the past 20 years. There's some like all of a sudden, like people got really scared when ChatGPT came out because Samsung made this big announcement that they had their data leaked through ChatGPT and things like that. And I frankly, the way that I consult some of these large enterprises is there is only one question you really need to ask in terms of data security. At least one opening question, which is, are you doing any model training of their data? If a company is not doing model training with their data, then inherently there isn't a much of a difference between using Cassidy, an AI platform, and Slack or Figma or any other Salesforce or any other SaaS tool out there, right? So the follow-up questions are like, are you SOC 2 type 2? But that's always been the case. And so I think the higher scrutiny on the AI platforms. A lot of it is unfounded. It just comes down to the question of, are you doing model training? And if not, then it's just the same thing. All right, you're storing sensitive confidential data, then yeah, they should probably be SOC 2 type 2. They should have standard encryption, all this sort of security that they need to have in place to serve large companies. That's the kind of, I think, the specific sort of nuanced thing here that I think people have gone down the wrong path on in terms of AI security.
Yeah. When you're working with a company, maybe an org, a smaller enterprise that's onboarding this, what is that role that you often interact with that's that sweet spot for I'm willing to roll up my sleeves and start building something with your product?
Yeah, look, I think we're trying to get the people to who have never touched a no code platform before or any like they've never built anything. They don't even, yeah, you know, you say we don't say no code. I say no code because I'm on the JJ podcast right now. Um, for us, we're basically just we're oriented around the use case. We're oriented around here. What do you either we know that you're trying to automate the way you do competitive intelligence. Right, let's do that. Here's the platform. Here's Cassidy. And what we're going to do is we're going to have this block attached to this, and we're going to have this block is going to get all the research, and then we're going to write out this block to send it to you on Slack. And so, very obviously, hey, it's a no code platform to build automations. You know, for that isn't like who we're after is like someone who would care about that. But what we've done and like what we've seen success is, yeah, we have HR managers who are building complex automations that are deploying a chatbot to Slack to answer HR questions that before they were responding to 30 questions that came in a day from these large companies. And now it's totally being automated by a Slack bot that they built. So I think that's the exciting thing about what we've done is really tapping into this user base that is just unfamiliar with this space and unfamiliar what's possible, but they're excited because it's magic.
Is there like a feature that you released recently or a use case that you had recently where you were just like, man, that came together so well, or I love that we have that kind of thing?
I think what we've done is some of the most interesting things that I found in like the AI space recently that I was just always excited about. Like I love deep research from ChatGPT. I love this sort of this kind of like research agent capabilities. It's unlocked just a lot. And so what we've done is everybody knows deep research in ChatGPT that you can have that sort of use case there. And we released our kind of research agent, if you will, in sort of our workflow engine. And so that's basically unlocked all these use cases in like sales and support where every time a ticket is coming in or you have a new lead entering in, you can have this step in the workflow engine, basically doing deep research on the lead, putting in all this information. But then even things like every Monday, go find all the negative reviews of our product and send it on Slack. And so I really like how we've taken some of that research primitive from something like that we're familiar with through ChatGPT into this workflow engine because there's just all sorts of use cases in the enriching leads in your HubSpot, enriching intercom messages that are coming in so you could better respond to customers. Even things like personalizing like marketing emails at scale, right? You have someone's email set off in a research agent, go find that person online, then go scrape through LinkedIn, then write up a summary of who they are. Now take all that information and use an assistant in Cassidy to write a personalized sales pitch to that person. So you're basically like, you don't need to send the same email newsletter to 10,000 people. You can send 10,000 different emails to every single person in your email list. So that's been something that, you know, one of those features that I really love to see and love to see how people have been using that.
Yeah, with the newfound ability that we have in our pockets with automation platforms like yours, AI platforms like yours, what is your prediction for company sizes? I don't know. I assume you're dog fooding a lot on your side, and so you might not have needed to hire as much than you might have had otherwise. Is that true?
I'd say yes and no. I actually, for someone who's deeply in this space and all about automating processes and where can we like find efficiency gains, we're definitely shipping much faster than an engineer could have shipped 10 years ago. But what I will say is that I think when you look at the history of technology and like the new technology comes out, the advantages that you get, everybody gets. It's not just, and so great. If now you're a company and you're deciding, hey, we can ship much faster. So let's actually stay a team of 9. There's a company out there that's getting all the efficiency that you got, but they're also going to go and be a team of 100. So when you pair with, oh, I get the, when you pair it with the efficiency gains, I think it just multiplies it with to have a larger team. And so when I think it's like right now we're seeing there's all sorts of like small teams that are reaching massive scale with very small amount of people. Is there still an advantage to having more salespeople who can be more hands-on, who can build out more AI agentic workflows and different processes of the company? I think more manpower is still gonna be an advantage. So, I don't know, I'm somewhat of a skeptical I have a sort of a skeptical opinion here, which as a company, I'm not necessarily putting the line in the sand and saying, "Hey, we're gonna keep the team size down to 10 and we're capping it and everything else has to be built by an AI agent." Because I think for us to best serve our customers, I wanna make sure that they can always talk to a person, and maybe they can have a level of customer support they never could had before because the efficiency gains that we're getting on all the other parts of the business, great, we can actually afford even more personalization and high touch human connection with our customers. I see it as like, we're gonna get the efficiency gains, but we're not keeping it ourselves. We're gonna reinvest it into the business to make our customers more happy.
Yeah, I like that a lot. It makes a lot of sense, especially saying it like that. Where are you guys in terms of personnel and your company? You launched a couple years ago. How big have you grown? Have you raised any money yet?
Yeah, we've gone through at this point, we've gone through a couple rounds of funding. I'll be able to share the most recent round very soon, but not unannounced at this point. I wish I could announce it on the and have you reveal it, JJ, but um, what more on that soon. And I will say that over the next couple of years, our team is going to grow a lot. We're really looking to bring on really smart people and people who are listening to this podcast. I'd say like really, if you're the type of person who's listening to this podcast, you're probably the type of person that would do really well at Cassidy. The biggest difference here is that like you end up building products and being a part of it that you're building for an audience maybe you've never built for before. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably are familiar with building products for other people on this podcast. But if there's an interest to how do you build no code applications that aren't advertised as no code, but they're just advertised to like how can we get adoption from people who've never heard of any no code? Yeah, business professionals, then a really exciting time when you should definitely reach out to me. And we're looking to hire any listener to this podcast is would probably be a really good fit at Cassidy. It's amazing. It's just like it's so special. And I think it's just one of the hardest things to do. So if you can do it, it's always easier to have the get the light bulb moment from the people who are in the space because they see the potential. But if you can really cut through that where you build a product that's actually so good that someone who doesn't really care about technology is excited about it, that's when you've reached another level of product innovation, I'd say.
Yeah. I think most leaders are at the companies, from what I hear, are saying, how do we integrate AI? How do we integrate AI? But I think also integrating AI and building it and investing in it and adopting it is different than just saying, hey, I want to do it, but I'm ready to do it. Because yes, AI can do so much for you, but it still takes time to build the systems, still takes time to QA, keep your hands on it and make sure it's going good before you can gradually walk away and then you get those value gains. So how are you communicating this to stakeholders to get that buy-in from them?
Yeah,
Hey,
2 things that back it up too. I think you're hitting on also like one of the best opportunities, I think, for people who are listening to this type of podcast and people who are excited about this technology is that there is a gap of identifying use cases for companies and actually building out solutions using no code applications. And like I call them AI implementation agencies. It's amazing because what those people are able to do is go into a business, they understand the technology, they can go find the problems, they know how to build the solutions. And then finally, to your point, JJ, they know how to communicate. Well, here's the realization, here's the benefits that you gained. And if you could do that repeatedly, right? You do it once with a customer, great. Here's the ROI that I did it, put it into this one company, get a testimonial, you're on the next bang, you're building out this big agency. I think like for us, we're constantly trying to partner with more of these AI implementation agencies as a platform. And because we want to build the product, someone's got to implement it, right? So the system integrators, I think. So it's a big opportunity for people. And our people have had a lot of success with our like Cassidy partner program. Every business needs it, right? And so we do it internally at Cassidy, right? When someone buys a subscription, they get an AI ROI report monthly to see what are they using. We can have an LM go through their usage, put a report together. And so that's a really exciting feature to communicate what the benefit is. Totally. Yeah. But I think there is such an opportunity here for for individuals, for agencies. I think this is where the future of marketing agencies are going. I think, in my opinion, is like who can actually implement this technology, get the adoption, and then communicate the return on investment. And that's 100% what I would be doing if I wasn't starting Cassidy right now. Wasn't working on this.
Yeah. Any other thoughts where you want to take it?
Well, JJ, I'm curious, like your thoughts. You've talked with a lot of these AI products out there, and what do you feel like, what's gotten you most excited? You've been in the no code space longer than anybody. What has you humming?
Yeah, AI agents really have gotten me excited. Originally, it was a buzzword for me too, and then I built a lot of them,
Yeah.
and they're still overhyped,
What have you
but
been building?
I've built a ton of different things. I have an AI agent course where I went through 5 to 6 different platforms and just built 10 different agents and just teaching every step of the way from very simple things in Zapier to very complex things in NAN. And just what you're able to do with these agents because they can now operate in the fuzzy area
Yeah.
just unlocks so much things. And still right now, I think they're still best for things that have a lot of data like customer support. You have all this data, you have the product knowledge base, all that kind of stuff that you can respond to. But with each new model update, these things are getting smarter and better, and you can bring them into so many aspects of your business. And so I have one SaaS that I built on the side. It's called Trade Backlinks. And what it does is you sign up as a company, you input the keywords you're looking after, and then we automatically pull in the SERPs that best rank for those keywords, find good domains that would be good for your brand, and then automatically find their contact info and reach out to them with AI every single day kind of thing. And it's all autonomous. And so there's a couple agents behind the scenes that are analyzing, writing, doing follow-ups, all this kind of stuff. And it's just scratching the surface,
Yeah.
right?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's
And
amazing.
so the things that you can do with it, like I can build so fast now with no code plus AI and being able to put together an AI automation and AI agent. Another thing that I do is I have a job platform for no code called No Code Alliance. And before we used to get just tons of spam. And I used to have manually check each of that. And now I built an AI agent that just does my QA for me. It reviews the submission. Is this good fit for a marketplace or not? If so, it approves it, it goes on. If not, it's just like one of those things I don't have to think about anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. And that's what I think we're just such in the early phase of this. Like, if you, the no code expert, just started building AI agents 3 weeks ago, it's going to take 5 years until you. Okay. 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 Yeah. Sorry. Sorry. Yeah. All right. So 6 months ago, but still 6 months ago, in the grand scheme of things, right? It's just going to take. We're in the early days. Like we haven't crossed the chasm, if you will, of this adoption of AI agents and workflow automation. And I think it's the future of SaaS. You're talking about all these things, all the things that you were talking about. You would have to have gone and bought a SaaS application that was specifically customized to do this thing. And now you just have this really intelligent employee in a box that you said, this is the thing I want you to do. I don't want to deal with this spam anymore. Go do this for me. You would have hired an EA for that. So it's
Yeah,
pretty
it's
awesome.
interesting now that we're interacting with AI so much. We're starting to become more normalized to it, but still we have an underlining trust thing. And so we see if it's coming from AI, generally we just trust it a little bit less than if it's coming from a real person. And so there's still that fine line between AI and real people that you need to manage, especially when building real relationships. And so one of the things that I've been thinking about, and I even tested with you, is an agent to monitor the email inbox for this podcast. And so I had that agent automatically responded to some things and then I just noticed that, listen, these are real relationships that I'm building. I can't have an agent do that on
Yeah.
my behalf because I'm not able to build that relationship.
Yeah.
And yeah, I could do it, but is it how I want my business to run? No. And so that's an area where I pull back. It's not going to do it this way, but it can do the scheduling for us. An EA would be.
Totally. 100%. There's trade-offs with it all. And I think we'll see, it's going to be this kind of like this goalpost that will continue to move as the models get better. So what is, I think is like AI etiquette. It's, people are now, they're like, all right, I'm getting tons of these emails and I'm like, so clearly it's written by ChatGPT. So for me, like, even as I get all these emails every day from like people who are applying for jobs at Cassidy, and there's these long emails and I'm like, okay, it's so obviously written by ChatGPT. So it's almost like it's the opposite now. It's like the email that has a bunch of typos in there and it's like short and to the point. I'm like, oh, they really took the time to write this. They really took the time to write this email. And so we've flipped now. It's like the the long, the long, super professional emails. Oh, this person didn't take any time to write the email. The one with a bunch of typos. Oh, this guy, he took the time.
Yeah, it's a part of learning how to use the technology. That too is gonna get better, but yeah, it's younger professionals that are just getting started. Yeah, they try to write with it, and there's you gotta give them a lot of feedback of give them the proper context, give them the proper roles and instructions, and help it adapt to your writing style. And then if you do that, you're able to get there, and it's really good. But yeah, it's clear as day, folks. And there's a lot of emojis there too.
Yeah, yeah.
So many emojis in there. And so now it's just now you can't like using 2 emojis in a post is and just maybe stick to 1 because otherwise you're leaning on AI territory. So it's a new age. And another thing that I'm thinking about is I have kids. I'm not sure if you have kids too, but my daughter's 5. She's learning how to read now. I can imagine in a couple years she's going to be reading and then we'll start prompt engineering with her.
Yeah,
Right?
it's totally.
Like, we have Google all inside our house, and so she already communicates with Google to play the song she wants, to turn on the TV, etcetera. Like, she's grown up telling Google what to do in this way, so it's very second nature to her, and so now talking to her computer to get it to build something for 'em, I think is also how these kids are gonna grow up
Yeah,
in many ways.
100%. It will be interesting to see how education evolves in the next couple of years because it's like, how do you teach prompt? Are you teaching people that like shorter writing is better, or that hey, don't be a lazy AI writer, don't be a lazy prompter? Who knows?
Yeah, education's gonna take a bit. It stags behind for but it's definitely gonna get revolutionized like many industries. I used to be in the film industry in LA, and I used to be a filmmaker there, and they are really struggling. Los Angeles is really being hit
Yeah,
hard. So many people just out of jobs because not just because of AI, but AI is just able to do so much for you. Like, you saw what Writers Guild and the strike were trying to prevent AI writing for them. It's there are many industries that are gonna be disrupted for the better and worse. There's gonna be some displacement. Hopefully, that displacement is then filled in by just an updated way to do this better, but people still have those jobs. But where do you see the future in this way with AI being so capable in the next 5 to 10 years? Where do you see it going?
yeah. I don't think it's necessarily different from any technology we've seen in the past in some ways, right? The big difference is that it's just moving so much faster. But it's like, tractors came along and farmers left the farm and they are doing, now they're not farming, now they're coding. And great, now a cursor's coming along and the newer ChatGPT models are coming along and the coders are going to go elsewhere. I think it's like, it's hard to say exactly what that will be. But I think when you look at the pattern of human history, it's like there's technology that comes around along and allows people to be freed up to do other things. This is happening a lot faster, but we will occupy our time with something. I think even when you look at, and then people will make the argument is like, we're talking about a post scarcity world and everything. If you look at the world today versus the world in the 1200s, 1300s, I've never killed an animal that I've eaten, not once. And so it is a very different world, what we're doing on a day to day basis already. And that took 1,000 years. Then to now, this might take 50 years. But yeah, the world's going to look very different, but we still occupy our days with try to explain a podcast to someone in the 1200s. There's a lot of explaining to get from there to here. And I think it's going to be the same way here, but we're going to occupy our time with something. What we do for work is going to look very different. So I don't know. It's hard to predict, but I just know that humans are good at finding things to do.
Yeah, I hope so. As we work to wrap up here with Cassidy AI, what last message would you leave the audience that are curious about your platform, that what might be coming with the platform? What might you say?
Yeah. Look, I think the product that we're building, the goal is to onboard the millions of people that don't know what Anthropic Claude is to AI, right? I think it's one way to think about it for the audience here and who would be interested in this. And I think we're trying to build a product that's different and that it will get the level of adoption that the automation platforms of the past just never could. How do we get people who are not in IT to be building complex software with no code? And the people who listen to this podcast, I would love your feedback, your thoughts on Cassidy, and would love to, if you're looking for your next move, we're looking to hire a lot and bring on smart people. So definitely reach out to me, reach out to our careers email. And I'm basically going through every single email that goes in there. So we're definitely hiring. And I really recommend people to reach out and come join our team.
Awesome. And besides that, also if they want to implement Cassidy as for their agency services or anything like that as well.
100%, 100%.
Great. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on. I will save the congratulations for another time, but you're doing great work across the product. Thanks again for taking the time.
Thanks, JJ.
That was a great interview with Justin. Always appreciate having CEOs on this podcast. Love seeing his perspective, his insights on where the space is going. Also, his way of approaching companies that have no clue what Claude Anthropic is and all these other things, of just showing how there's so many companies out there that just really don't know anything that's going on with the latest and greatest AI like we do, all in this space, learning it every single week. But still, those companies, they have the same problems. They need stuff automated. They need stuff integrated. They need stuff done for them. And so by finding these companies, this niche, there's huge opportunity to uncover there. As discussed in the interview, I do think it's hard to find those folks. I've been trying to do it for a while. They don't go by names, titles, etc. It often requires more education, letting them know that possibilities exist. But once you get them in that way and your first discovery, the opportunity is huge. And it's just one of the ways that many different players are going about their go-to-market strategy, figuring out which clients, customers are worth investing in and how their products can help them. The fact of the matter is that AI and automation products, tools can help every business in the world. And so it's a very big pond with a lot of fish in it, a lot of opportunity. Cool to see their go-to-market strategy. I think they have a fantastic product. They built it in a way that's easy to use, but still very impactful and integrates well. Also, I know some of the team members there. They're doing a great job. So if you haven't yet, check out Cassidy AI. Thanks to Justin for coming on the podcast. And I hope you enjoyed this week in No Code Plus AI. If you want us to interview anyone else or talk about something in particular, let us know. Drop us a note. Find me on LinkedIn. Otherwise, we have another great show lined up for you next week. I will see you there. See ya.